Hey, this is Draco, back with another Modern League run. We had a success last time, so I, of course, joined another queue and gonna go through all the games. We didn't get a trophy this time, but it was a really good run anyways, with the same deck, same list we ran last time. I'm not gonna go too much into details about the deck for the deck check this time around because you can check my other video, but in general what's happening here is that we are going for a lot of interaction with our spreading seas, and finding a lot of success having all 8 lords that can just push a lot of damage in really fast when the time is right. Um, so this session was recorded over 2 evenings, so let's go through the games. Now we are in it. First hand, see here this was a fine hand. No islands, but the Ether Vial can't complain. We see an island from them. That could mean anything. It could be the mirror. It could be some sort of control deck. So just play out the Ether Vial. So this was the first game in our Modern League from yesterday. Interesting to see if we could follow up our good plays and our success. See how it performs today. So this guy's gonna play on ice. So now we're instantly considering, is this some sort of, maybe it's the Rhino deck with Shardless Agent? That could be consideration. So we're sitting and wondering what we could do here. We can't really play anything as he chose to ice our island. So we might as well play the Mutavault. We might be in a situation where we want to attack at some point. Gonna tap down the ice down the Ether Vial. We're still unsure about what are we actually playing here against. Does he have counter spells? He might have. So we're just gonna play out a Lord on the cabin. And he uses Dead and Gone on it. Interesting card. We were also considering if with Opt, could this be Storm? But it seems like it's some sort of Izzet Control deck. Not quite sure. So we're not gonna take it up. We got double Lord now, so now we can do the play of playing our Lord. Considering here we could either vial out our Lord, play a Lord, and attack with Mutavault. That's gonna get in for 4 damage. We definitely want to get our Mutavault out there. But what we're actually considering is, just to protect us a bit, only play the Lord out, hold the Ether Vial up, so we can instant speed pull it out here, making sure that we're not activating the wrong Mutavault. So we get in for 3, that's fine. We need to start putting pressure on. Notice we've been drawing a lot of lands. So we gotta utilize the fact that we have the Mutavaults as a threat. This is match 1 versus Tintin. He plays an island, says go. So here we need to put the pressure on again. We don't know what's going on over there. So we need to vial it in. We're still unsure what deck it is, but we just know that it can get scary at some point. So we just want to get as much pressure in we can. And I can say this actually is an interesting game. It's gonna go a bit crazy at some point. So here we're considering what to do now. Of course, we want to double Mutavault, but do we also want to play the Tide Shepherd? It's a big threat, and it will mean that we can be lethal next turn, but it also leaves us vulnerable. So what do we actually do here? The Otavara, we need to use that as a action, a play at some point. So we started by activating both Mutavaults. We can get in here for a lot of damage. It's 14 damage, leave him down to 3. So he's dead next turn. So he's considering playing the Tide Shaper. Just need to get as much pressure down as possible. There's not too many sweepers in this format, and even though if you would have a sweeper, we would still have double Mutavault. Plays a Snapcaster Mage. Now everything is subtly different. Why is he playing Snapcaster if it was a Rhino deck that just needed his mana? So now it seems like a control deck. But what happened now is insane. So he taps out. It's a Through the Breach deck. That of course, the first thing we see here is, okay, so we're gonna get a hit by Emrakul. What are we gonna do? We know, of course, this could happen, but it's actually interesting as he's on 3. The Emrakul comes in, and we gotta make sure that we get the right things off the ground. We need both masters online because Sulfur Falls means that you might have a Lightning Bolt, but we need to sacrifice 6 permanents to these Emrakul. So we're really considering here what to do. Of course, we gotta get the Ethervial out there, and then the Tidechipper, leaving us with just a Mutavault that can attack because we have a land, and 2 masters. So now we're on 5. This is a bit dangerous, but luckily our shock, we have no shock lands, so we haven't taken any damage. Normally 15 damage from Emrakul is enough. So this is where we just attack with everything, and because we were intelligent in the way we chose to make sure that we have 2 masters online, he has a Lightning Bolt, but it doesn't really matter, as he can Lightning Bolt, block, and still goes exactly lethal 3 damage. So that became a bit more tight than I expected, and getting hit by an Emrakul and still surviving is definitely a challenge or an achievement in itself. So again, what are we going to do against a deck like that? We're discussing here that Otawara is actually a really important card here, because Otawara can bounce Emrakul. Because it's not a spell. Emrakul has protection against colored spells. It's not a spell, and it's not colored, so Otawara is a great out against Emrakul. Vapor Snacks is bad because they can bounce the Emrakul. We need counter spells because they can counter Through the Breach. And we're just gonna put in a couple of Brazen Burrows to have a bit more of a threat in the air. I know we can't bounce the. I think we're actually gonna be considering here if we're just gonna do something else, maybe just a couple of Skydivers instead. And not that hard to Brazen Burrows, but we take them back anyways, leaving up counterspell. So this hand is just so bad. Notice here that we don't have a land, so it's an instant mulligan. This hand is fine. Considering what to put back here. Normally I like to put back Waterlogged Grove as it is better late game, because the value behind the Waterlogged Grove is that you can cycle it late, but we don't want to take too much damage early. So we draw Tidechipper, considering what to do here. Normally I want to play out the Tidechipper against islands because it's just a 2/2 for 1. That's of course strong. So in general, if you know that they don't have, we also cut all the Spreading Seas. If they don't have too much mana, you can, interfere with, because they're only playing 2 colors. It's better just to. We even cut the Spreading Seas, then it's better just to play the Tidechipper as a 2/2. So here we draw the Ethervial, but it's too late now. We want to get pressure on, so we play down the Adept and says go. Immediately is dead set, so 2 removal spells, keeping us low on creatures. It's fine, we can deal with that. Draw Ethervial, that's a bad draw. Now we want to get more pressure on, and the Tidechipper. It might be relevant that it can leave him off the red mana, as he actually only he kept the 1-lander. Now he top decks the island. That was of course lucky by him. I don't know why people are keeping these hands. Of course he had an opt, but yeah. Anyway, we draw the master. Considering here what we're gonna do, are we playing the Glasspool Mimic, or are we playing the master here, and going in with Mutavault, playing the Otawara? The Otawara is a good out for us. Later we discussed that. That's a really great card against Emrakul. So what the big consideration is: are we playing Glasspool Mimic as a land? Are we playing Otawara as a land? If we play Otawara, we can play master, and we can attack, and we can put pressure on, and we actually do that. And this is because we can see that he just top deck a land. There's so much time until the Through the Breach will come online, and this will give us a lot more damage. And notice here, this is the correct play as he uses ice. And if we had done it a bit differently, we would have gotten in for 0 damage. So we gotta keep damaging him and putting pressure on. He draws another land. The Valakut Awakening. Still no red mana, which is great for us, but the removal spells are gonna come online next turn. We draw another land. It's getting a bit frustrating, but now we need to play the Glass Bloom as fast as possible before he gets the red mana online for removal spells. So we can copy the Master, activate Motor Vault, and get in for a lot of damage. 11 damage going down to 3, but he has another ice, which is a good card for him. But now on 7, it looks difficult. He passes a turn, considering if he should take up. And I think while we do that, I think he might consider what's he gonna do. We're still drawing lands, but we have a commanding lead on board. We just want to go to attacks. So I screen Motor Vault, attack with everything. He Lightning Bolts the Master. Now left with an awkward fetch land. Yeah, so many removal spells, but because we had to burn 3 life of the fetch land and the steam vents, it was still exactly lethal. So I can't complain. We go to next match. 1-0, we're up. This game is interesting as we are meeting one of our best matchups, but yeah, stay tuned for this one. This is a pretty crazy game. Subpar hand, but because of the double Waterlock row and the Ether Vial, we still choose to keep it. We see immediately this is Tron, probably Green Tron, and of course now we are sitting and looking at that hand saying, oh my god, this is the worst kind of hand against Tron because we wanted Tide Shapers and Spreading Seas. So now we're regretting our decision not to mulligan. Play out the Ether Vial. We play the Motor Vault turn 1. We want to make sure that maybe we can attack. Draw another land. It's of course horrible. And look at him. He has maybe natural Tron going on, which is why this is so scary. If he plays anything here, we can't really put down the Lord. That's why we play out Motor Vault, because we need the Lord for our Force of Negation. And he has natural Tron. But look here, he has no place, which is kind of insane. But we just need to find solutions. We need to find Spreading Seas. We need to find anything to get him off this. So we crack the Waterlock row. We find nothing. Now it's getting a bit out of hand, but suddenly we find the Spreading Seas, and we're considering, okay, which land should we take? You should, as a general rule, you should never take the tower, because if they need to go find a land at some point with the fetch, and it's a tower they find, because you Spreading Seas the tower, then they will drop a land that gives 3 mana instead of 2. So actually, it's always best to go for one of the 2 mana lands, the mine or the power plant, and we choose the wrong one, which is, perfect. He plays immediately Spirit Dragon, Ugin. Luckily, we have the Force, because in this situation, if we hit the mine instead, it's just such a mind game. We would have been in a great shape. He wouldn't be able to place Ugin, and we could start putting pressure on the board. So now we want to do something now. We need to get going. So we put in the Lord from the Vial. Draw Benthic Biomancer. That's actually a fine draw, because now we can start. So, we can cycle or loot away a land with our million lands. We take the Vial up to 3, so we can play the Sverloon. But of course we are really dangerous, scared about what's going on. What he can do in this situation. So this situation, we were considering playing the Benthic Biomancer, holding up the adaptation, but we choose just to activate Motor Vault, because we just consider we need to get in for damage now, putting the pressure on. This backfires a bit, as he immediately plays all his dust, killing out our 2 creatures, but it's not that bad, because we can Sverloon endgame, but it means that we can't use our Benthic Bioman's looting effect. But we put enough pressure on that he needed to do that, and now he's out-won all his dust, which is a dangerous card against us, and we have a Sverloon going. But we're still under pressure here, because he has so many lands, so many mana. So we immediately draw a Silvergill Adept, which is initially a bad draw, because we can't play it, but then we draw the Spreading Seas, and we can take out his Ursus Tower. So now we're in a great position again, but notice here he actually got a lot of mana now, and he can use the Granic Star to generate a green mana, and Thragtusk. Thragtusk is a great play in this situation. It gets him back up to 17. It's also a great blocker in the current situation. But luckily we have the adepts, so by chaining 2 adepts we got indestructible on Sverloon, and we can start attacking in. This is a great draw. Mimic means that we can copy adept. We can cheat in the Mimic, copying the adept. And here we're considering what to do. I think the correct play would actually be waiting a turn, but I'm a bit scared of what's gonna come next when he's suddenly have some. Maybe draw 1 more mana, and he can play out a Khan or something. So I actually really want to find the Force of Negation or a Lord. Here the Taiji is too late, because we can only take out a power plant. It doesn't do anything if he finds another tower. So now he plays out the Wormcoil Engine. Exactly some of the things I was afraid about. The Wormcoil Engine is a big stop here. Yes, he has an island, but we have no lords. We need to find a lord to get in now for damage. Otherwise, he's just gonna get 6 damage. So we top deck the Spreading Seas. Yeah, we already had that. That was fine. It does, and now the issue is not his mana anymore. So the Spreading Seas was technically a bad draw, and now we really just want to find the Lord. We can adapt to find it, and we can also Benthic Biomancer and loot 1 card to find it. We choose just to adapt 1. If you don't find the Lord here, he will go back up in life. And we don't find the Lord, we find another land. So we can play the Benthic Biomancer, and we can be ready for adapting it, but we won't be able to play the Lord anyways. So we are actually in a pretty tough situation here. This Wormcoil Engine is quite a beating in this situation. Yes, we can attack with Sverloon, but him just blocking that give him 6 life. So we try to draw again. We find the Trickster. Again, a bit too late with the Trickster, and we just pass here. We don't want to give him 6 life for free in the Sverloon attack. Trading 6 life for 1 card is not worth it. Here we jump block, and we'll get the Tractors off the board. And now he hits us with the really strong play now. He finds another all his dust. And because the Wormcoil Engine is an artifact, he clears the board. So here we overextended, and that was a misplay. We should have been more considerate about just stalling the board out until we find the Lord. But we tried to find the Lord immediately so we can get in for damage, and didn't consider he might have an Aulus dust again, as he played 1 already the game. We're not out of it yet. He's pretty much in top deck mode. Of course, the Wormcoil Engine is a problem, but we can Trickster it down, which will give us some time to find some more answers. He finds an Oblivion Stone. And now we can tap down the Wormcoil Engine. We can also find something like a Sverloon again, would be a great draw. Spreading Seas. That's kind of just a cycle at this time. We choose to consider taking off green, which might be the right play, so we can play more Thractors. So we get in for 6 damage here. The problem is that he can of course swing back, but this situation we are pretty far behind, and we can't find a solution for Wormcoil Engine. So he's gonna go back up to 18 now, and then at this point I think he's gonna play Ugin, which is gonna seal the deal. Is it Ugin he's placed here? I can't remember actually. He's playing something big. Oh yeah, Silver Scrying. And he finds the Ortis' tower. And it was Ulamog, yeah, Ulamog. And that's fine. We can handle that. I'm actually a bit unsure about the sideboard because we have a lot of good things in the sideboard. We're considering, of course, subtleties because he has Ulamogs, Wormcoin engines, but they're just gonna come back. So it's actually not. It's a more tempo play, which is fine. Counter spells are good because they also hit a lot of his hard, expensive stuff. And Skydivers can also be interesting as he has these cheap artifacts, but they can be sacked, of course. Vapor Snacks is not as hot. Basic Biometals is just a little creature, so we consider just cutting that. And we're gonna end by putting in a blend of different cards here. So we have a hand here with the Ether Vial and the Diver. And we mulligan one. This is a decent hand. The force is good because we can force his he plays with typically play with the Khan Great Creator. We draw a shore and we put in the shore tapped, taking up the vial. So now it's actually interesting. He plays a relic of Progenitus, which I'm actually a bit confused by him playing this specific game. This is again a consideration. He played a forest, which means that he just wanted to play the ancient stirring, but maybe we should have considered forcing that. He was just so low on cards, because forcing that would mean that he didn't find the next piece of the Tron that he actually found. But here we can steal the relic, which gives us a draw. The artifacts, the cards in the graveyard doesn't really matter in this matchup, so it's just fine to steal his artifact so we can sack it for value and get a threat on board. Now we can also Lord in step. He plays the tower he found. We play Lord. We have Force of Negation up. And draw a counter spell. So we're actually pretty good set up here. Considering if you want a Muda Vault attack, but the alternative is to hold up Force of Negation. So we don't have to pitch anything because our hand is pretty good. And here we actually choose to sack the relic to see if you can find the Spreading Seas and get him off Tron, because many plays he would make, we won't be able to counter it anyways, and we had the counterspell up and running, so we chose to see if we can get the Spreading Seas or to deny him his value. He plays the Thractor, so it didn't really matter that we didn't have Force of Negation up. We could counterspell it, and we couldn't force it anyways. So we use, of course, our counterspell, and now he plays Weather the Storm, which is, yeah, you can counter it, but it'll be 3 mana difference. So now he's on 27. But we put in a Lord, threatening a lot of damage, and this is where the game is actually kind of interesting, because even though he's on 27, the land here is a really good draw, because if you look on it, or no, land is not a good draw, but if you look on if you count here, we can hold up the Force of Negation, so we can force 2 times in a row. That's of course fine, but notice what the math does if we choose to instead activate Muda Vault and saying we still have force up for 1 round. This will give him exact 14 pounds of damage, which is over 2 turns leading up to 28. So he's actually dead in 2 turns, even though he's on 27. He has 1 play, and we can force it because we have the force to pitch to the force. So the correct play is actually here, I think it's the correct play, to play down the Muda Vault, going in for the 14 damage, leaving him dead next turn. And now he has 1 turn to play something. And he goes for it. He plays All Is Dust. We can force it. And this is where he blows us out with the Veil of Summer. So of course, this is not good. Now he strips off our board. He's on 13. We have nothing left. He plays an Oblivion Stone. And I can tell you from here on out, we were downhill. But great play by him. Veil of Summer. Good sideboard strat. So that was of course a big play. We drew a subtlety, which is actually a decent play. Now we can subtlety his next play and start getting in some damage. He should probably be concerned that I didn't attack with Mutavault there. He just thanks him of Ugin, which is gonna be relevant later. But he plays out another Thragtusk. We of course, that's a fine subtlety target. Want to get that in there. So now we actually threat 5 damage. And he can of course yeah. So he puts the Thragtusk on top, and now he uses Oblivion Stone to get the subtlety offline. Conservative, but probably correct play. It also removes our Ether Vial. We drew the Skydiver, which is going to be played for as a 2/2 flyer. The problem is we know the Thragtusk is coming down next turn. But we're playing it out anyways. Maybe we can top deck, luckily, maybe we can top deck as Velu. Maybe he has nothing more. If it draws only has the Thragtusk, then it'll be fine. Silver's crying. So now he's finding a forest. So he can play the Thragtusk. So if you find as Veilun here, we're actually back in the game. He's in top deck mode, and we can also top deck well. We find Adept, which is kind of the worst draw, as we can't even play it, because we have no Merfolks to reveal. And we can't really attack with Mutavault either, because he can block now. And now he plays... he goes in for Thragtusk hit. And he passes. Still in top deck mode. Good draw. Now it's actually looking a bit up, because now we can double spell. We even drew a Mutavault, which can be a threat next turn. He's on 14. The Thragtusk is a lot of hits away. And we go in here for 2 damage, so he's on 12, and we actually have 10 damage on board. He's on 0 cards, so we have some way we managed to get back in the game, which is great. But then he top decks Ugin, Spirit Dragon, instantly triggering the Sanctum of Ugin. So this is just game. Well, I don't think we played that match to its fullest potential. We should have not overextended in the first game to find the Lord. I think in that situation we were a bit too hasty. I think we played the other match correct and just was unlucky not getting enough Spreading Seas effects. We have 8 main deck, so I think that's kind of unfortunate we couldn't get it there. But 1-1, heads high, we can still do this. We still want to get the full sweep, winning the rest of the games. So now we mulligan to 6 cards. The hand didn't do that much. Now we're on a 1-lander. This is actually interesting. Let's see the mulligan again. I want to see here. So if you look at this hand, we got, yeah, it's problem is it's Mutavault only, and he's on, I think he's on the play. No, we on the play, so we can't of course keep this hand. This is a bad hand on the play. We mulligan again a 1-lander. We have 1 draw to draw an island or a land, and if we do, we have 3 draws in the Spreading Seas and the Silver Galater. So we're considering keeping this, but I think it's too greedy, so we mulligan it. And now we have a 0-lander, so it goes from bad to worse. And of course we need to mulligan down again to 4 cards. And let's see if we can get competitive with 4 cards. But it's again, what can we do? This is just really, really unlucky, and that's magic. Sometimes you get unlucky. We mulligan down. A decent hand we're considering here. Which card should be sent back? I think you don't want to have force in your hand on 4 cards. You don't have time to throw away so much card advantage. And this way, these 4 cards we're considering back and forth, but we land on these 4 cards, and I think it's correct that the Glasspool Mimic can be played as a land at turn 1. Then you can play Tide Chip on turn 2, and then you have a Mutavault. So this is the correct to keep. We need to get value out of our Tide Chipper in this particular situation. So we are on all lands. He plays a Hollow Fountain into Ace Sentinel. So this is a really strong deck. This is the Affinity, the new Affinity deck, that's running a lot of crazy strong cards. Immediately not excited about seeing this kind of hand when we have such a bad draw. Even though they have Ursa Saga, we need to get this Tide Chipper on the ground. It's a 2/2, so we can both block and go on offense. He plays this new fun toy they have, the Moonsnare prototype. It's a decent card, but it doesn't provide colored mana. So he plays a land and just goes passing for it. So, yes. Whippersnag, not exciting draw. We can play down the Lord, we can go in for 3. And we, of course, now we have Island Walk, so this is 3 unblockable. But still, we mulligan to 4. He has a crazy strong deck. Let's see what he does now. So he plays a Glimmer Void. And now plays down Ursa, which is the strongest card in the deck, I would say. It's just immensely strong. And it also gives him a construct, which is now a 5/5. Luckily, we have the Whippersnag. But look at that, he can also follow up with the Thought Monitor. Great round by him. What a insane situation. And we top deck a land, which is not hot. So in this situation, it's not really that strong to do anything. Here we have, of course, the good attacks. We want a Whippersnag now, so he don't get any value in his turn. And we need to pay the mana to do that. We don't want to give him any draws. This also means that we can activate Mutavault still and get in for 6 damage. And suddenly he's actually on 8, so it's pretty decent. And from mulligan to 5, I'm quite satisfied with the current situation. But now he's Ursa online. He has a lot of mana. But notice he starts making some misplays. First of all, now he wanna cycle the relic, but he forgets to tap the relic for mana, which he can do with Ursa. That's a weird mistake. He finds a Glimmer Void, he finds another Esper Sentinel. He finds either Spell Bomb. Groundbreaking, because now he can actually bounce our Lord. But now he attacks, and I don't like that attack. What's the difference between us being from 20 to 18? Hopeless. We draw Trickster. This is a decent play, but the issue now is that we can't really attack. He has blockers, and he can bounce our Lord and start blocking with Ursa. But because he attacked with Thought Monitor, he doesn't really have insane blocks. And because we drew the Trickster, now we actually have a play. The correct play here is to... Actually, it is because we need to force the momentum now. We can't let him start untapping with Ursa. So we choose to tap down Ursa, leaving him with 2 blockers, 1/1s. We can attack with 3 creatures. When he bounces the Lord, we still have 2 2/2s in hand. Or not in hand, on the offense. So even though he bounces the Lord, we still have 2 2/2s. And he can block now. It doesn't really matter that he kills the Tide Shaper, because the Hallowed Fountain is still an island, which means that we have the Lord of Atlantis next turn for exactly lethal for Trickster and for Mutavault. So this was a perfect play. We knew that he needed to bounce the Lord so he could block. But if he had stayed back with Thought Monitor, he could have blocked the Mutavault and traded away. So that was just a crazy bad play. And now he just spins Ursa, panic mode. And for some weird reason, it seems like we're actually winning from a mulligan to 4. I can't say I was unhappy about that. Yes, Skydiver immediately in with them. When you're playing against the artifacts decks, the Skydivers are really good. There's a lot of targets. Brazen Barrows is good because you can bounce all the constructs. And yeah, they do have the Thought Monitor flying, but other than that, they don't have that much in the air. Forces are not strong. Not big enough spells they do have. Benthic Biomancers is a consideration. I actually think we keep them in. No, we cut them for a couple of counterspells. Counterspells are good because we can counter Ursa. Yeah, problem with Benthic Biomancer is that he's immediately gonna get a lot of creatures down. Okay, so this is an interesting situation again. This hand is fine because we know they play Ursa Saga, so we have Spreading Seas, which is good. We also have Either Vial, and we can start. We can choose to keep this conservative keep, or a bit maybe controversial. But again, the Spreading Seas is so strong in that matchup, And with an Ether Vial and a Svaloon, he has not that much removal. He plays a Esper Sentinel, so this is where it's interesting. Notice that he mulliganed. He went down to 6 cards, and that means that we won't give him a card to get him back in the game from the Ether Vial play. So we're just playing really conservative here. Just playing a land and saying go. He attacks with Esper Sentinel, plays a land, plays an Ether Spell Bomb. Doesn't really matter that much. And a Moonsnare Prototype. So he kept a really strange hand, but again, he was of course mulliganing. Now we want to play the Ether Vial, and yeah, we can pay the mana. That's fine. Now we're actually satisfied. We suddenly have a good situation where we have an Ether Vial going, and next turn we can start having something like counterspell up. But he portable holds the Ether Vial, which is of course a good play, and he keeps it. So this is weird because it seems like he kept the hand with no threats, which is why we now choose to say, okay, we are satisfied with playing a bit slow. He has only 1 card in hand, and he had either Spellbomb where he can bounce something. So what's the correct play here? You can play Svaloon, but he's just going to bounce it. So instead we actually rather want to just pass over, being ready with Counterspell. And he can't really attack because we also have the Merfolk live. So I think this is the correct play. It's really conservative and slow, but he has nothing going on. We find a Glasspool Mimic, and we say again, yeah, let's get that out as a land and just pass again. Nothing's going on, but I actually think this services us the most. We have Counterspell up, and we can start building our board soon. He finds the Thought Casts. This is actually a really good draw, because if he resolves that, he'll have full mana to play a lot of spells, and he can start chaining Thought Monitors. So we choose to Counterspell that one, and I think that's actually the correct play. But now we are up and running with all our stuff. Suddenly have a lot of mana. We can play out a lot of spells. And again, the Ether Spell Bomb is annoying. So choose to instead Tide Clipper. Just to get a 2-2 on board. And then we take down the Svaloon. Springleaf Drum. Bad top deck. He didn't need that. So now we can also, of course, we are expecting him to just to bounce in begin combat, so we don't get the draw step. Mutavault is a fine play because it can suddenly be a big threat having 3 Mutavaults going live. But sitting array, what should we do here? Maybe we should just try to go to combat, see what he does, and then we can maybe activate Mutavaults. But the weird thing is here, he doesn't. He doesn't. He chooses not to bounce Svaloon. He was sure he was going to do that. But now we can get in for 5. Because he didn't do that, we didn't activate the Mutavault. We should have maybe done one activation pre-combat. Okay, so Brazen Borrow is a decent play. You can play a Lord post-combat just to put some pressure on. And now we have a Brazen Borrow activation up. He plays Urza's Saga, which of course is going to be a bit of a threat next turn. But we have the Spreading Seas. He still have the Ether Spell Bomb. Of course, we don't want to give him any cards, so we still are playing conservatively. Land is good. Now considering should we attack with a Mutavault as well, it doesn't really change the clock that much. Our Lord can also get in this time. So we rather want to just keep up Brazen Borrower. Or playing the Adept post-combat and then keep up Brazen Borrower. And this is so weird. He chooses to cycle it, panic mode, but he should have bounced it a long time ago. So we won the match. And now we are 2-1. This is where we pause for the day. And when we took it up again today. So this is from earlier today. The other recording was from yesterday. So round 4, we are 2-1. we need to get the 4/4/1 so we can continuously be satisfied with our deck. We keep this hand. This is a decent hand. We have an Adept that we cannot really play, but there's a lot of Merfolks in the deck, so we are not afraid of that. And we can all just Spreading Seas instead. Street Wraith. So this means that he's probably on Living End. The deck where you play Shardless Agent or Violent Outbursts. So this game is going to be really interesting. We draw the Tide Shaper, which is good. The problem for us right now is that we don't have the Force of Negation, which is going to be really good against the Shardless Agent. Yes, we can counter Shardless Agent, but we can counter the Living End that's going to be cast later from the Cascade effect. We choose to play the Adept to get a threat down. We don't need to get him off his mana yet, because he needs 3 mana to do it. Violent Outburst is an instant that costs a red and a green, so we need to get him off green to do that. Shardless Agent costs a blue and a green, so again, good holding him off green. But this also gives a bit more information, and him playing out the Poseidon as a first land means that he probably is not in a situation where he has more forest. He finds a steam edge, so now his mana is looking up, and now we want to start hitting his mana base, so we can keep him off. We want to keep him off playing either Shardless Agent or the Violent Outburst. At the moment, what we're considering here is that he still only has a Street Wraith in the yard, so it's actually not that strong a play to do it yet. So should we Spreading Seas now, or should we try to maybe Glasspool Mimic his Silver Adept? These kind of decks, they don't play removal, so we can easily play a Glasspool Mimic. We could also play a Master of the Pearl Trident to get in for 3, or we could be conservative and then say let's get him off the mana now, so he can Shardless Agent in his own turn. Maybe he can cycle something late game and still get in for a couple of creatures. So I think we choose to be conservative and just use the Tide Shaper. We want to use the Tide Shaper over the Spreading Seas just to get pressure on. And then if we play a land, we can also hold up Vapor Snag. Vapor Snag can be relevant. So Tide Shaper and the Poseidon. We need him off green mana. And he immediately cycles the Titanoth Rex, which is a weird. It's a fun little thing that they put this card back in the list. I think it's a one-off, but it's a pretty cool tech. He plays down an island and plays Grief. This is annoying because if we had played this Spreading Seas, he would only be able to take the Vapor Snag, but now he can take the Spreading Seas. So that's of course unfortunate because now he can get back. But I actually think he chooses differently here. Yeah, he takes the Lord, which is a signal to us that he doesn't really have that much going on, because the Lord is he's something he's afraid of. So he draws Svaloon. So the Otavara is something we've been holding on to, but in this situation, I think correctly we are just saying let's get the mana. Let's get the mana from Otavara. Put it down so we can hold up Vapor Snag, and then play the Svaloon. We're considering here should we try to get him off red, but again it just doesn't seem like he's doing that much now, and killing taking the Master of the Pearl Trident means that he doesn't really look like he's lining it up perfectly. If he were lining up perfectly, he would have taken the Spreading Seas and done it his turn. Taking 2 more damage wouldn't have done anything, and now the Master is gonna come back when he living ends. So this signals to us that maybe he doesn't really have it lined up at the moment. In this situation, we would just make sure that we're gonna kill him as fast as possible next turn, or and killing him as fast as possible, hopefully next turn. So the Svaloon is going to give us 3 points of power, which is basically its function now. It doesn't really matter the draw, because we need to kill him in 2 turns. So this is 7 damage. He cycles another card. He cycles another card, looking for his combo. We're really lucky here, because he finds the Botanical Sanctum. And we were just in a bind. If he played the Shuttle Agent, we would have been able to do nothing. Because even Spreading Seas, the Steam Ends wouldn't have helped if we find a green source. So, in this situation, we draw a land. He's on 9. We have 7 power and a Vapor Snag. So here the situation is, if we crack the Warlock Grove now, we can find a Lord. So I think it's a correct play just to try to go for it. Because we can go lethal next turn before he untaps his Botanical Sanctum, which will win him the game, basically. If he plays his Shuttle Agent, which I think he have in hand, he's gonna put in a lot of creatures. We find a Lord. And we kill him. So I think this was the correct play. We need to make sure that he doesn't get a Shuttle Agent on. But I think we were a bit lucky that he drew the Botanical Sanctum in that situation. He could easily just have played this. And he had like 5 or 6 creatures in his yard at that point. So sideboarding, he has a lot of cards that are interesting for us. Of course, counterspells are good because just as the Force of Negation, we can counter his things. But the good thing about counterspell is that it can also counter the Violent Outburst when he plays it in our turn. I know Force of Negation can do that, but typically when you're tapped out and you want to Force of Negation doesn't only works in his turn, so it can work when he uses Shuttle Agent to find his living, and you can't do it when he uses Violent Outburst in end step and plays it. So here's Counterspell, whereas Counterspell is good. We take in also 3 relics, which is of course really great against him. He needs creatures in his yard before he living ends, so relic is kind of a win condition against him. If we just have a relic up, his living end will be useless. So he's really slow, this guy. But that's fair. I think he also chose to start with 7 hands. This hand is interesting because yes, you have the counterspell, but you have no second island. We have the Ether Vial, but again, what happens if it just combos off? We're on the draw, so in turn 3, he might be able to cycle 3 creatures, and then he can play a Shuttle Agent, and we will probably not be able to draw the island for the counterspell. So we actually choose to discard to mulligan the hand, which is crazy, but I think it's a correct play. And now we get a hand with Force of Negation and Counterspell, and of course no islands. But the Force of Negation is just so strong, and we're on the draw. But again, no islands, so we mulligan again and go to 5. This hand is better. We have 2 counterspells, and we choose to take down, remove the Lord. Of course, the Mood of All is not as interesting when we're on 5 cards, but the Merfolk Trickster is, because when he doesn't play something relevant we want to counter, we can put in the Trickster. But I think this is just a really good example of being aware of the game condition. This guy has a combo deck. He can win in turn 3. We can't just sit around with a Silvergill Adept and hope that a 2-1 is going to win us the game. So I think it's a correct to mulligan, even though we have to mulligan again. We draw an island, which is fine. He cycles the Arctic well, so exactly what we're talking about. Just start cycling creatures, start getting value in the yard, setting up his combo. We draw another counterspell. Can't say I'm unsatisfied about that. They play 3 living in. Sometimes they start with 1 on hand, so 3 counterspells means that we got pretty well set up. So again, he plays a land and goes to pass. In this situation, we don't want to play the Trickster, because then he can Violent Outburst in response, and we would be screwed. Again here, we pass, holding up the counterspell. He's gonna find a land. He can Violent Outburst now, which would be bad for us. I think he actually does that, because then we need to counter this. That's just how it is. We need to counter the living end, not the Violent Outburst, of course. So we let it goes on the stack. The living end comes in. He has a lot of creatures. We're just checking what to decide what anything out. We need to check, of course, the Befreed card from the Cascade. We countered, but now he forces our counter. Nothing we can do about that. Concede the game. I think it's everything we did in this game was correct. I think we were correct on sideboarding or mulligan down, and I think in this situation we were just unfortunate that we didn't draw. Oh, he had the force as well. They're playing 4 forces main deck, so that's of course really relevant. But I think we played it correctly anyways. Okay, so he mulligans to 6 cards. We are satisfied with his hand. We have a turn 1 relic, which is great. We played immediately, and he actually looks for a solution, and he has one. He has a force of negation. He needs to force this because the relic will just, destroy him. And notice we can't force because it's in our turn. We can only force in his turn by discarding a card. Plays a land. Says go. He's down on 4 cards. So again, we draw the Titan, which is interesting because we didn't want to have the Trickster. We didn't want to play the Trickster, as Trickster is great to have when you have counterspell up. So the Tide Chipper is actually giving us a play, even though it's not that hot, but maybe we can take him off red. He immediately places Bible of Canal, which of course signals that he has red mana anyways. We draw another Tide Chipper. So if he takes him off red now, there's no way he can play his combo. Because he needs either red and green, or he needs blue and green. So there's no if he takes him off red, there's no way he can both have a green okay, so he can play Charlotte Fiddle, but then we have the force. But he can't play Violent Outbursts because there's no way he can play a mana now, play a land now, and have both access to 1 green and 1 red mana. Because if he were able to do that, he would play Violent Outbursts in his own turn, and we couldn't counter it, or end step. I mean, draw another land. We are satisfied with 2 attackers. We don't want to do anything here. But actually, we're considering maybe we should have played the Master here because he's still not on any green mana for the Violent Outbursts. So actually, this was here the situation. We could have played the Master and then held up Force of Negation in his turn. Anyways, we're going down the stretch. He passes. Now we want to get the Trickster out because the Trickster will give us a different clock. We goes from a 3 turn clock to a 2 turn clock. So now the Trickster is good to get in. The Vial is absolutely irrelevant at this time. The Master doesn't change the clock. It gets him to 1. And that wouldn't change anything. So we rather want to have the mana up. We attack with the team. He's still 1 combo off from winning. But we have both Counterspell and Force of Negation up. Yeah, he didn't find the mana. So we managed to get him anyways. But it's an interesting matchup playing against these that deck, the 4-color Living End deck. They just in the modern preliminary managed to get us. I think it was second place someone got. So congrats to Winged Hussar. Yeah, second place, went 7-2 in the modern challenge with the 4-color Living End deck. I'll actually put that in the comment because I think that was a pretty cool deck, and this guy played a copy of it. So we need to be able to play against that deck. So last game. Immediately, this guy plays Urza Saga in Amulet Vigor. We have no Force of Negation. So the first thing we think here is, oh damn, oh gosh. This is a really rough matchup, and this is a really good start from him. He might be able to combo totally off here. We have a decent starting hand, and the Spring Seas is good on Urza Saga. But I think it's so crazy playing against Amulet Titan. It's such a crazy deck. And this matchup is actually really, really cool. It's a really, really interesting matchup. I think it's an interesting deck, but it's difficult to play, the deck. But it can have some insane draws. So we're considering here, do we want to Spreading Seas the Urza Saga? The reason why this is important to do is that it's just good to get that land off the ground. So he goes in for 2 damage with the Construct token. Castle Garbrick pass. So we are lucky here because he has really not a really good draw. The Garbrick, we're looking here at the Tide Shaper, finding out should we go for the Garbrick, but we don't really see a way where he can use Garbrick next turn. Of course, Garenbrick is dangerous because it allows him to play Titan immediately. But counting it up, I don't see a way he can activate it, even though he plays these lands that gives 2 mana. I don't see a way he can do that unless he has some sort of effect. So here we're considering, should we Tide Shaper, the Garenbrick, or should we get down the Svealu? We could also we considered also if we could Silvergill Adept first, but we want to also what we do here is that we chose to go down with Svealu, and then we want to hold up either vial so we can choose to do Trickster if something happens we don't anticipate. Nothing happens, and we can put down the Adept now on end step. Another either vial. Not a good draw. We of course don't want to take it up here. So now we're considering what's gonna happen. I actually think this might not be the right play. We had the vial up still, and the reason why I wanted to play Titan pre-combat is just to get Svealu to attack while being indestructible. We draw Spreading Seas. It's good to keep these Garenbricks off the ground because he can use them now. He finds the Simic Growth Chamber, and this is where we can't really do much about it. He can use Garenbrick now to play the Titan. The Titan comes in. This is something we anticipated. And what's happening now is that we can, of course, he's going to find the land that can make this hasted. And by attacking, he can put in a lot of damage. We're on 16. So this is an interesting situation. The math here is that what we're sitting considering is that when we Trickster down, we have double Lord. But we need an island on his side. We have the Spreading Seas, but we have only 3 mana. So we Trickster down, so he can't get the value from it. And if we draw an island here, we win, because we can play a Lord and it's exactly 17 damage, exactly, because of the Trickster. Because then we can double Lord. We don't draw it, but we need to play Spreading Seas anyways, to get the island on his side so our creatures are unblockable. So when we play the Spreading Seas, it gives another draw, but we need to draw exactly island, or one of the blue sources. So again, this draw, we can kill him immediately, we hit an either vial. So this is unlucky. Now we need to get back in the tank. This will definitely give him one more turn. So this is difficult. We didn't even find a Trickster. So this is just a tough situation. What are we going to do now? We didn't get lucky on the draws in a situation where just finding a land would have been a win con. So looking at it now, it doesn't seem that we have that many great attacks. Of course, Svealu can go in, finding a card that could be a Trickster. It could be pretty good. But the other cards are not as hot to attack with. A Bold Grazer got a decent block, and it doesn't really matter if it dies, and the Construct token can maybe trade. And if we Trickster in Lord and go for the damage, we don't kill him, and that means that the Primeval Titan can hit us back. What Primeval Titan is going to do now is it's going to find him. It's going to find him Valakut, which can potentially burn us out for 14 damage in the head, or clear our board. But the ward trigger is actually important here, because that's not going to be as relevant for him to do that. So, but he can Valakut us for potentially 14 damage. And by using Slayer Stronghold on the Primeval Titan, it becomes an 8-6. So the correct play here is that when he attacks, we want to wait for the trigger, we want to see what's going on, but we're considering here, we need to do that we block with 3 creatures exactly, and then we can Trickster in the Lord. This way he can only kill 2 of our creatures. And that's of course not going to work with Silvergill Adept, but we also have the Tide Shaper. We have a Vial on 1, so the Vial draw, which was bad, actually becomes relevant again. So now he's sitting and searching his deck, looking for the Valakuts. And we can't take even 2 points of damage. And if we lose too many of our Merfolks, we have no Mutavaults this game. And if we lose too many of our Merfolks, we won't be able to swing in. for enough damage. So this is why the math gets in here. So he is in the declare attack steps. He can pump it up. So this is where we want to start out before blockers to cheat in the Tideshaver. We want to block with the Trickster and both Tideshavers on the Primeval Titan. So this is technically trading, but of course we also want to get in the Lord. So now we have three 3/3s. This way we can absorb all the damage and he can only kill 2 of our creatures. Even though he uses Slayer Stronghold, it won't matter. So we kill off the Titan. This is good for us, but the Valkyries are of course pretty scary anyways. But we have 4 creatures in play. We have a lot of Atlantis in hand. And he just scoops. That was tight, and in these kind of decks, normally you won't survive if a Primeval Titan gets to hit you, but we did. We immediately bring in the subtleties. Those are amazing in this matchup, of course. It's built for this matchup. Even though he used Kells and Garabrick, it's still able to being subtletied away. Benthic Biomancer, he has many creatures early, so the Benthic Biomancer is not going to be that interesting here. The Skydiver is an interesting tech. We choose to bring in a couple of them, simply because it can steal his Amulet and be a flyer in the air. The Whippersnake is not as good here. Even the 2/4 that gives him a lot of other land drops, we can't really bounce it. He still get the value when he plays it. So Whippersnake is not interesting. We choose just to put in the subtleties, take out one Sverloon, which is not something we like to do, but again, this is not a game of grind. This is a game of being fast, pushing in damage. We look at this hand. This is a fine hand. It's actually a good hand. We have the turn 1 Ether Vial, we have an Adept, but he plays immediately on the play an Amulet of Vigor. Which is of course not good for us. Now we can do all sorts of things, and we don't really have any counter magic. But we have the Thieving Skydiver. We're just hoping that he doesn't go off. Take up the vial. Continue here. There's no really reason to Spreading Seas anything, because it's only green mana. We don't get any value from it, and he can just bounce Spreading Seas back to his hand with the Growth Chamber. So instead we just want to get the Adept down. It's not an interesting play, but it's just bread and butter. We need to try to build a board. But we're considering back and forth what we should play here. There's also a consideration of holding up Trickster. This could signal a counterspell. But I actually think we're just gonna do the Adept play. What do we show here? Normally I don't have any problem showing Master. We have 8 Lords in the deck, and I don't think they're gonna, in general, change the play that much from seeing a Master. The one thing we didn't want to show them was the Skydiver. So he got one more turn before our Skydiver gets online. The island was a great draw, because now we can actually do it. He plays a Cavern, named Giant, which means that he can play his Primeval Titan. But he has nothing. We draw a Mutavault. This is a good draw. That was what we missed last turn. We swing in for 2. And we are grinning all the way to the bank when we can jump and steal his Amulet before he gets any value of it. Now we place the Growth Chamber, and now suddenly we have a good Spreading Seas target. While in the Lord, so now we have pressure. And again, this is a situation. Do we want to get Svelone down? Doesn't seem that Svelone's draw is going to be relevant in this situation, because he's stuck now. We can even use Spreading Seas to interfere with him even more. And in that situation, it's just better to get in some damage. Master, what a great draw. Now we can play the Master, holding off the Trickster for anything. But I still think we want to consider the Spreading Seas play on the Growth Chamber and attack with Mutavault. Here we can again do the count. What's gonna happen if we play the Master? It's gonna change the clock. The situation. not really. So we rather want something. We rather want the vial online, as we can use it in step in his turn if something crazy happens. Nothing happened, and we managed to win 4-1 in this modern league. So I'm really satisfied. We played not that great against the Tron deck, but the other matches were really nice. So I was really satisfied again with the deck. If we just go things again, it's just I got a couple of comments on the last video. I haven't been able to change it around, but people were considering playing another bounce effect, the one that gives us Scry 1, Fading Hope from one of the previous set. And also a good idea is also considering mana leaks in instead of counterspell. I think that's also a really good tip, and I'll try out next for the next run. The last one I want to see is that I actually today, because I'm preparing for Saturday, I got this one. So this is a true unboxing on the last cards I needed from Neon Dynasty, which is of course gonna be the Otavaras. But I'm glad that you checked in again, seeing all the great action here. Today I think again we saw some value from the Spreading Seas. I really like that card. Let's see what's in here. There it is. Otavara. Ready for the tournament. Get yours today. It's gotta be great. So, thanks for watching, everybody. If you like what I do, I'll be putting out more Merfolk content. I'll practicing this deck pretty hard up till Saturday, trying different configurations, but roughly running this list. If you like my content, subscribe, and I'll also put a link into where I did my trophy a couple of days ago. So you can say this is exact list running through. But I was satisfied with the matchups today. We did beat the Artifact deck, which is a good matchup. I'm satisfied with that. We managed to beat Amulet Titan, which is a hard matchup. Also really satisfied. And we managed to beat Living End, which is also normally a hard matchup. We played that really well. So thanks for watching. Have a great day.